Welcome back. Listen, today's explainer isn't just some dry list of plant names. No way. We're talking about an epic, high-stakes story of survival, radical adaptation, and the ultimate conquest of land by the kingdom Plantae. Let's get right into it. So, here is our evolutionary roadmap for today. We're kicking things off with classifying the plant kingdom, then diving into algae as our aquatic pioneers, followed by bryophytes, the plant amphibians. After that, we hit pteridophytes, first vascular plants, gymnosperms, the naked seeds, and finally wrap up with angiosperms, flowers and fruits.
Section 1. Classifying the plant kingdom.
Initially back in Linnaeus's era, we used what's called an artificial system, basically grouping plants just by superficial stuff, like leaf shape or color. But a plant's environment totally changes how it looks, right? So Bentham and Hooker leveled up with the natural system, looking at internal anatomy. Fast forward to today, the modern era. We use phylogenetic systems. This is where we run hundreds of data points through computers to uncover a plant's true genetic evolutionary family tree. It's literally tracing their ancestry. Section 2. Algae, aquatic pioneers. Okay, so our journey starts in the water. These simple thalloid organisms, they are absolutely crucial. They're basically the true lungs of our planet, handling at least half of the total carbon dioxide fixation on Earth. Now, they divide into three incredibly colorful classes: Chlorophyceae, the green algae, Phaeophyceae, the brown, and Rhodophyceae, the red algae. What's super cool here is how their cell walls and major pigments actually shift with each class. This chemical brilliance is exactly what lets them photosynthesize at totally different depths in the ocean. And the visual variety with these aquatic pioneers is just staggering. We're talking everything from tiny, geometrically perfect colonial forms like volvox, all the way to massive brown algae, like kelps that can shoot 100 meters up from the ocean floor. 100 meters. It is wild that organisms without true roots or stems can achieve that kind of massive scale.
Section 3. Bryophytes, the plant amphibians.
Next up, we take our first daring, muddy steps onto land. While these mosses and liverworts solve the massive problem of surviving on bare rock or damp soil, they actually still lack true roots, stems, or leaves. They're famously called the amphibians of the plant world. Because sure, they're physically living on land, but they still desperately need a splash of water for their male gametes, those biflagellated anthrozoids, to actually swim over and fertilize the egg.
When you look closely at liverworts like Marchantia or mosses like Phaneria, you'll see they're anchored by these little structures called rhizoids. Now, because they don't have a vascular system yet, they've got to stay small. They literally hug the ground. But do not underestimate them. They are ecological heavyweights. They're the first responders that decompose solid rock to create soil, literally laying the groundwork for all other terrestrial life.
To really grasp how a moss grows, you've got to understand its two distinct gametophyte stages. It's kind of a two-step process. First, it starts as a creeping green protonema that develops straight out of a spore. Then it matures into this upright leafy stage, popping up from a lateral bud. And it's this leafy stage that's the main event, because that's the part that actually bears the sex organs.
Section 4. Pteridophytes, first vascular plants.
So here's the big question. How do you beat gravity and grow taller than a creeping moss? Well, you evolve vascular tissues. We're talking xylem and phloem, the internal plumbing of a plant. This was a massive evolutionary leap. It allowed pteridophytes, like ferns and horsetails, to become the very first terrestrial plants to possess true roots, stems, and leaves. Suddenly, by pulling water up from the soil, the main plant body could finally stand tall and reach for the sun. And right here is where the playbook changes completely. Heterosporous plants, like Selaginella, started producing two totally different kinds of spores, macro and micro. But the real game changer? They started keeping their female gametophytes attached to the parent sporophyte while the embryos developed. Retaining and protecting that female gametophyte was a huge deal. It completely set the stage for the invention of the seed. Section 5. Gymnosperms, the naked seeds. Now we're looking at the rugged survivors, gymnosperms. The name literally translates to naked seeds. Take majestic plants like cycas, pinus, and ginkgo. They completely eliminated the need for swimming gametes. Instead of relying on water, they use airborne pollen to deliver male gametes directly to exposed ovules housed in these complex cones, or strobili. The seeds aren't locked away in an ovary, they're just sitting right out in the open. To conquer those dry, harsh environments, gymnosperms basically had to invent a biological winter coat. Think about these extreme leaf adaptations. You've got needle-like leaves to vastly reduce surface area, thick cuticles to lock the water in, and sunken stomata to hoard every single precious drop of moisture. They completely re-engineered their biology to withstand wild extremes of temperature and wind, which is exactly how they form those massive, rugged pine forests we see today. Section 6. Angiosperms, flowers and fruits.
Which brings us to the grand finale, the most diverse group on Earth, the angiosperms. Now, unlike the naked seeds of gymnosperms, angiosperms enclose their seeds in protective fruits and develop pollen in highly specialized flowers. And the size range is insane, from the microscopic woofia to towering eucalyptus trees pushing over 100 meters tall. By hiding those vulnerable seeds inside fruits and using magnificent flashy flowers to literally trick animals into doing their pollinating for them, angiosperms have managed to dominate almost every terrestrial habitat.
So, the seed habit was just a precursor to a massive evolutionary leap. When you really step back and consider this incredible journey, from microscopic green algae floating in the oceans to creeping amphibians on damp rocks, all the way up to massive redwoods and flowering eucalyptus trees, it leaves us with one incredibly provocative thought. As our planet's climate rapidly changes today, what extreme frontier will plants conquer next? Thanks for joining this explainer, and keep that focused curiosity live.